postgrad, choosing a course, the application process, funding, writing a personal statement, and 10 tips to enhance your application. Also, just to let you know that I'm going to be running another session this Friday at 11 o'clock on preparing a personal statement for postgraduate study. So if any of you want to attend that as well, you're very welcome to join me on Friday at 11 o'clock. Okay, so first of all, why would you pursue a postgrad? I suppose, some of it's fairly obvious. So it may be a requirement for your career. So if you want to be a teacher, you have to do a PME. If you want to be a clinical psychologist, you have to do a postgrad in psychology. It may be just to continue and specialise in a certain area. Obviously, it could be to improve your job prospects, especially at the moment with COVID-19. We're not sure how things are going to pan out over the next year or two. So again, it might be something you're thinking about staying in college to improve your career prospects. Another really interesting reason why people decide to pursue a postgraduate course is to change direction. So I'm not sure if you've heard of conversion courses, but they're a really interesting option if you want to change career. Or if you want to do something completely different from your undergraduate course, you would be looking at a 1 or a 2 year conversion course. So that means, for example, you may be studying something like business at the moment or science. You may decide that you'd like to get into medicine or law or health sciences, speech and language therapy, occupational therapy. There are a lot of courses out there that once you have your level 8 degree, you can flip over into another career area by doing a 1 year or a 2 year intense postgraduate course. So they're always an interesting option to look at. I suppose the other thing really is to think about, do you want to do a taught course? So usually a taught master's degree would be 1 year full-time from September to the following September, so 12 months of full-time study. You might want to do a graduate diploma or a postgraduate diploma, which could be 9 months of studying from September to May, for example. So the difference between those two is that if you do a master's, usually you'll do kind of a long thesis during the summer months. With a postgraduate diploma, you'll just do your 9 months of study. Some of you then might be thinking, I'm going to do more of a research master's or a PhD. So you have, you may be able to do some taught modules. We have structured PhDs now where you can do some taught modules. But if you're thinking about a research master's or a research doctorate, it's supervised study. You won't have as much action with other students. You probably will with your supervisor, but again, it's much more, it's down to you really. So you have to be very, very disciplined. Again, as you all know at the moment, most courses are online. Down the line, some of them may be, it may return to full-time where you're actually back on campus. You may be studying part-time. At the moment, it seems to be very much online. So, just so you know, it may be like that next year as well. We don't know what's going to happen yet. And again, I suppose the job prospects, you may need to have a postgrad course because, it will give you specialist knowledge. Some employers require graduates with postgrad qualifications. You may get a chance to speak to other people. If you're doing a part-time postgrad, for example, in HR, one of you mentioned that it may be a combination of students who've just come directly from their undergraduate degree with people who've been working in the area of HR for several or many years. So it's a good opportunity to network with people already working in the industry, especially if it's a part-time postgrad. And again, I suppose it's an opportunity just to increase not just your specialist skills, but your transferable skills as well. So, managing a large thesis, your research skills, your data analysis skills. So I suppose the idea of doing a postgrad is that it will increase your job prospects as well. Okay, so the application in UL anyway, and I assume other colleges, they're all online at the moment, okay? So what you'll have to do is, some of them are open, some of them aren't open yet. So I suppose the thing to realise is that, closing dates differ. So you will be filling them out online. They'll probably probably be looking for your academic qualifications and achievements. You may have to produce a transcript. Obviously, if you're in your final year, that's not going to be available until after you graduate. But again, you just produce and give them what you can. If you're looking for your transcript, you'll be contacting Student Academic Registry, and they can give you an online copy of your transcript as well. You may also need to include any employment experience and a supporting statement. If you're asked to include a supporting statement, that really is quite an important part of your application. I'm going to be going into more detail about that on Friday, and I'll briefly talk about it in this session as well. And if you have any questions today, you can ask me about that. Some postgrad courses will ask you to come for an interview. Not all of them, but some will. So again, you need to do your research beforehand and be prepared to do an interview. Obviously, at this stage, it's going to be an online interview. Funding, that's always a really kind of a big question that people have. You know, what funding is available? Where can I get funding? Now, each college is going to be different, but if you're thinking about going on to do your further study here in the University of Limerick, you need to look at the Graduate and Professional Studies website, ul.ie/GPS. They have lots of information on scholarships from each department, but I suppose the main source of funding is SUSI. So I'll be talking to you about that a little bit more in a minute. If you have a look at so that's the Graduate and Professional Studies website. They also have some information on the SUSI grant. You can also look at kind of the Grad Island Postgraduate Study website as well. So they'll talk about funding that's available nationwide and possibly in other colleges. But for the moment, UL, you need to look at each college. So each college will have their own information on funding your study. The main source grad SUSI. So that's the government grant. It's not available to everybody. If you're currently on a third level grant, you may be eligible to get a grant for postgraduate study for your postgrad as well. It all depends on your individual circumstances, your family circumstances, your financial circumstances, things like that. So again, you know, nobody can tell you whether you'll be eligible for a grant for SUSI, but you can do kind of an eligibility reckoner through SUSI as well. It's really handy just to give you an idea on whether you think you'd be eligible for a grant, either to cover your fees or a maintenance grant as well. So SUSI is the main source of funding. But as I said, you know, different departments within the college will offer scholarships as well. So check out the individual colleges. If you're thinking about going to the UK, prospects.ac.uk is the main website to find out about postgraduate study in the UK. If you're thinking about going further afield, again, the Prospects website is fantastic. I think they have information on over 50 countries, including visas, you know where to live, things like that, what kind of courses are available. So in Ireland, it's Grad Island for the whole of Ireland. In Limerick, for the University of Limerick, it's the Graduate and Professional Studies, and for the UK and further afield, I would have a look at prospects.ac.uk. Okay, so what are the things you should and shouldn't do? I suppose the first thing really is to think, find out when the closing date is. It's still very early in the semester. I think we're nearly at the end of week 4 now. So we're a quarter of the way or a third of the way through the semester. It's very early, but there's no harm having a look at who's taking applications already. So don't leave it to the last minute, because you will need to get your documentation together and you may need to write a personal statement. And that may take 7 or 8 drafts before you're happy with it. Some courses are very competitive, so you need to make sure that you give yourself plenty of time. I suppose the big thing is that you need to kind of show them that you've researched the course in advance. Why do you want to do this particular master's or PhD or postgraduate diploma? So you need to show that in your personal statement. And for your personal statement, I suppose you need to focus on relevant and specific achievements and interests that support your application. Again, because some of the closing dates aren't going to be for a few months yet, it gives you time maybe to think about how your final year project or relevant modules that you've studied relate to the course that you're applying for. So you need to make sure that your application and your personal statement is relevant to the course you're interested in. So again, that means doing your research in advance. Again, I suppose a postgrad, it's moving things on a step, isn't it? So for those of you in your final year, I know for those of you in business, you may not necessarily be doing a final year project, so it may not apply to you. For those of you that are doing a final year project, you're going to really kind of hone and, you know, improve your research skills this year. So any skills that are like data analysis, research methods, kind of interviews that you've done with people, they'll be really handy to throw into your personal statement to show that you're ready to move on to the next step, which is level 9, level 10, and that you're ready to go on and do a postgraduate course. And also, I suppose, if you are invited to a job interview, treat it like a job interview. It's just as important. If you've been called to an interview, they actually want to talk to you in person and find out about, you know, why are you interested in this course? Why do you want to study this area? Tell me a bit about your undergraduate degree. What career are you thinking about? Okay, so you need to treat the interview seriously as well. Okay, so just a little bit on the personal statement. Actually, I've just thought of something. Before I go on to the personal statement, I was thinking about funding for postgrad courses. If you want to take a note of this, and you can ask me about this at the end, but there's a massive skills shortage in Ireland at the moment. So I'm not sure if you've heard of Springboard courses, springboardcourses.ie. There's some really fantastic Springboard courses available in the University of Limerick and every other college around Ireland. I suppose the big thing about Springboard is that they're either fully funded or 90% funded as well. So if you look at the cost of a typical postgrad course, they could be, you know, they could be starting 5,000 a year, 7,000 a year, more for some of the courses like medicine. But if you have a look at the springboardcourses.ie website, you'll see that there are a lot of courses out there in the areas of financial services, software development, data analysis that are completely funded. So that's just handy for you to know that you may not actually have to pay full fees at all if you decide that you want to do further study, but it's funded by Springboard. So that's a really handy thing to know about. Okay, your personal statement. So really, if you're asked to give a personal statement, you know, it's about thinking about who it is you're applying to, what the course involves, how it relates to you, how it relates to your future career, and how your current study is relevant as well. So it's really a chance, I suppose, as well, because you have the application form, it's black and white. Your personal statement is a chance to tell the course director or your audience who you are and why do you want to do this course. Again, if you're applying for a postgrad, you know, you're going on to do some kind of further study in an area that's much higher than the level you're at already. So you need to think about your presentation. You need to check your grammar. You need to check how, you know, how you've written the statement. So it needs to read well and it needs to sound well. So if you're kind of preparing a personal statement, if you read it out loud, how does it sound to yourself? You could also get somebody else to listen to you while you're reading it out as well. So get a friend to check it. We'd be happy to check it in the careers service. Maybe your final year project supervisor would be happy to have a look at it as well and give you some feedback. If you're applying for different colleges and different courses, obviously you need to tailor your personal statement depending on the course and depending on the college. Okay. So some tips to find the right postgrad. I suppose, first of all, if you haven't really decided yet what you want to do, just think about, do you want to do a research master's? Do you want to do a taught course? Would it be a benefit to you to do a conversion course, or do you really want to specialise in a certain area? So again, remember, there are lots of different postgrads out there and they're all taught in a variety of ways. So for some of them, again, it may be much more research focused where you're on your own. Others, they may have more taught modules. Again, I suppose you need to look at the college websites as well. Maybe have a look at the staff profile of the various academics who are teaching in the faculty or the area that you're interested in, especially for kind of research masters or PhDs. If you're interested in a PhD or a research masters, it's really important that you look up the relevant people in that institution and see what their research interests are as well, so you can align that with your own. Again, I would definitely talk to an academic advisor or your final year project supervisor as well. They may be able to give you some good tips and advice. Next thing really is to find out about the funding options, and sometimes you need to do that well in advance as well, especially for SUSI. They'll go back kind of to the previous year to see if you're eligible to receive the government grant. So find out about funding options. The closing date may not be until next semester, but if you have a look at the entry of the you may need to start getting your documentation together quite early. Again, closing dates for things like teaching, things like some of the conversion courses, the closing dates are quite early. Usually they could be kind of towards the end of semester 1. They could be very early in semester 2. You may also have to sit some kind of psychometric tests as well. That's not for every postgrad now, but some of the health sciences like medicine, speech and language therapy, physio, you have to sit specific exams like the GAMSAT or the HPAT, and they're really difficult because these are such competitive areas to get into. So the earlier you do your research, the more informed you'll be and the more prepared you'll be. So check your closing dates. Okay, so grades do matter. I suppose, look, if you're obviously not going to get your results until next year, but if you're pretty confident that you're expecting a 2-1 degree, put down that you're expecting to achieve a 2-1 or a 2-2 or a 1-1. Some of them will accept 2-2s, some of them won't. Again, if they're kind of flexible about it, then your supporting statement is really important. So you need to show that you're capable academically of going on to an advanced level of study. Okay, check out who your academic referees are going to be. So you need to find somebody who knows you. And I know for somebody, for example, if you're studying business at the moment and you've got very large classes, it's really difficult to find somebody in the business school who knows you personally. I'm just thinking though, because of the online studying that you're all having to do at the moment, now might be a good time to get to know one of your academic advisors or one of your tutors or one of your lecturers. So usually you could be asked for 1 academic referee or possibly 2. So now really, if you don't know anybody personally, now is the time to get to know your lecturers and your tutors. Okay, so as I've said earlier, that your personal statement is quite important as well, especially if it's a competitive course that you're applying for. So spend some time and thought on writing your personal statement. And again, you're probably not going to get it right in the first draft, so you may need to do several drafts before you're happy with it. Again, I think if you can find people who are already studying the course that you're interested in, try and talk to them. I mean, LinkedIn is so great. I'm assuming that most of you would have a LinkedIn profile at this stage. So for example, if you're doing a business studies course at the moment and you're thinking about going on to do the Masters in HR in UL, most of that class will have a LinkedIn profile. So you'll have students in that class who graduated just this year and they've just started the Masters in HR. So using LinkedIn, if you go into the University of Limerick LinkedIn page, you'll see they have a list of like 68,000 alumni, something like that. And you can just put in HR or work and organizational psychology or computational finance. You'll be able to see students who are currently studying that course and maybe students who have graduated from that course as well. And I think LinkedIn is great as a networking tool. That's the whole point of LinkedIn really, that you can network with other people. So it's a really good chance for you to maybe find out what the course is like from somebody who's actually doing it or somebody who maybe graduated last year or the year before. Usually people who are on LinkedIn are more than happy to speak to somebody who's a couple of years behind them. So LinkedIn can be really, really useful. Okay, this last one really, I suppose this is really just for people that if you're applying for a course that's extremely competitive in areas like, say, a clinical doctorate in psychology or medicine or speech and language therapy, it may take you 2 or 3 times before you're successful in getting a place. So if you really want to do a postgrad in a specific area and it's very competitive and you don't get it the first time, you might find that next year you might be more prepared. So don't give up if you don't get it first of all. Okay, I think that's it for the moment. If at any stage you would like to make an appointment, I'm going to turn my camera on. If you'd like to make an appointment to speak to myself or one of the other careers advisors to get your application reviewed, to get your personal statement reviewed, or if you want to chat about what your options are regarding postgrad study, you can contact us at any stage through the Careers Connect website and make an appointment, and we will talk to you. Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, you just make an appointment and we'd be happy to talk to you. Okay, so thanks very much, and I'm going to turn off the recording now, and